It's Saturday night. We're here in Corpus Christi, and we're joined tonight by the field coordinator for the Texas Rangers in town to watch the team, Jayce Tingler, who was a former RoughRider back in the day. Jayce,
yeah.
Were you a teammate of Jason Hart's? I think he played for the RoughRiders around the same time.
No, he was a couple years ahead of me. I think when I was playing minor league ball, he was still, in the big leagues and stuff like that. So I've always known to Jason. I went to the University of Missouri. He went to Southwest Missouri State, which is, now Missouri State at the time. And Jason around that kind of area is, kind of legendary. So with his power and, the player he was. So I knew of him but never played with him.
Rangers doing a decent job around Missouri. You got Brett Nicholas on this team, and of course Nick Tepesch, starting pitcher. You must have a little bit of pride there to see the success of the Missouri guys.
Most definitely, and Kinsler was there when I was there, but it seems like the last couple of years, with Tepesch and Nick and a couple of guys coming out of there is kind of the bigger wave came after we were there, and with the Rangers. Very proud of the years Nicholas has had last year, getting his way up to Double-A and getting used to the league, and then obviously Nick Tepesch kind of coming on the scene last year, but really making a splash in spring training and his first outing. So definitely very proud of those guys.
You've been around the team the last couple of days. You got here during that 17-inning ball game. What have been your impressions of what you've seen? Obviously, the hitting has not been quite there, but what do you think of the team thus far?
I think the one thing that stands out with this group is kind of the joy and the fun they play with. There's a certain energy. Things that stand out are the way they're kind of pulling for each other, kind of way they're grinding at bats. Really good to see. I know it's early in the year. The challenge would be kind of bring that level of an intensity and energy throughout the months of June, July, August when it gets warm and it starts to heat up. But overall, the reports have been as advertised. Going up there, swinging at strikes for the most part, seeing a lot of balance in the swings. And I think, like I said earlier, the thing that stands out are the way these guys are playing with energy, and it looks like they're having fun out there, which is probably the most important thing right now.
Part of your role is to oversee the staff at all the minor league teams, and I'm sure you have all the confidence of the world in Boo, Jeff, and Jason, along as the medical staff as well, seeing what the group has done the last couple of years, and you must feel real comfortable when you come to Frisco to see the atmosphere, and I'm sure the coaching staff is a big reason for what you've seen with regard to the personality of the club.
There's no doubt about it. We've been, or I guess I'm in the luxury of having, guys that have been there, done it, with Jeff and Boo, the experience those guys have. And the same thing, goes on at the other levels, especially, Round Rock with Bobby Jones being there as long as he has, guys like Spike Owens, Scott Coolball. So it's really a kind of a big load kind of off, myself and the other Rovers, where we can probably get a little more detail oriented and with the players, where you really don't have to deal with too much of the staff because they know exactly what they're doing. And I think a big part of our job is check in and make sure that they have the resources to do what they need to do. And most times it's try to stay out of their way because they do know what they're doing. And so that's probably the toughest challenge, is to come in and just make sure they got what they need and just trust their experience and trust their teachings.
We're here with Rangers minor league field coordinator Jayce Tingler. Jayce, you're only 32 years old. A lot of folks in positions like this are much older, much more experience in the game, not to say anything about your experience, but were there any challenges in this role last year as the field coordinator because maybe you didn't have the number of years that some others did?
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest thing I've got to continue to do is sit back and listen to the guys that have more experience than myself and ask those guys questions. And hopefully we're all learning, we're all growing at our jobs, and through talking to those guys, asking them about their past experiences, what works, what doesn't work, and just the challenge of continuing to grow. And I think at the same time too is being respectful of the guys that have been doing it a lot longer than I have, and try to learn from those guys and hopefully continue to grow at this.
Finally, you're also doubling up in terms of your duties as the hitting coordinator. Nobody really in that defined, but a lot of it is falling on you. Does that make the workload a little bit stronger for you going throughout the season?
I think probably from a pure workload, yes, but it's honestly it's fun. It's putting a lot of workload on our hitting coaches, that's for sure, and certainly taking a lot of input from them. listening to their feedback from what they're seeing with the guys every day, throwing out recommendations. A lot of time, honestly, is on the phone, checking in. Obviously, I go in for 4 or 5 days, and you can't be everywhere. So I spend like the majority of my time on the phone, trying to listen to the hitting coach's tone, the manager's tone. What are they seeing? What are some small adjustments we can do to help fix it? And I think when you got guys like Harry Spillman and Scott Coolball and some guys that have been around, they've been big league hitting coaches that have been there before, having the luxury of picking their brain, asking them what they would do, and applying that into our daily routines of what we're doing with the players. But to answer your question, it is work, but when you're dealing with baseball, it's fun, and so the time goes by, and honestly, it's a blast.
Well, as always, Jayce, it's great to have you in town. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you. Hopefully we get one tonight, and hopefully we continue to swing the bats. I feel real good with this club, especially if you can get to a tight game the way our bullpen's been throwing. So hopefully we can get some runs on the board for those guys early and see if they can slam the door.
Absolutely. That's Jayce Tingler, the minor league field coordinator for the Texas Rangers. We're back right after this on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.